What's up, fellow Lords of Gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. Let's jump right in. So, the question I want to address in this video is, should you or should you not tier 4 Ghost Rider? That's the simplest question that I want to answer for you guys going in. A, the uniform is a must buy. I'm going to basically tell you that. Why? It's a seasonal uniform. The character is going to be good. The question about the character is, how's it going to stand up between other characters that you could compare it with? Currently, I think the majority comparisons that are happening is between Black Bolt and their Ghost Rider. I think that this is not a just comparison, because you're not comparing a superhero to a supervillain in terms of, you know, where you can use those characters and how they will fare for you. Yes, Black Bolt was an amazing seasonal character. A year later, and this character still has great relevance, and you can't deny that. And it made me simply happy that the character is still receiving relevance inside the game a year later with his seasonal uniform. There's no doubt that he is like a PvE meta character in the game. So when you compare him to Daredevil, one of the things I noticed when I was playing with him at level 70 essentially was that he seemed like he was taking hits really hard. Some very hard hits, and he would die instantly to like gore. When I leveled him up to level 80, he was doing some significant damage, and that was really nice to see. Now, the other characters you're comparing him to are realistically going to be universal superhero type characters that you currently have in a queue to probably get their tier 4s, or that are currently there. Meaning, A, is he going to stack up against Thor and Odin? Those are his primary competition in terms of universal superheroes. And then potentially the characters to come behind him. The ones I see conceivably getting their tier 4 that could maybe outshine him are obviously going to be the likes of Silver Surfer and Sentry. I don't particularly see them doing what they would need to do or should do in terms of making Adam Brashear, Blue Marvel, leaps and ages above him. I just don't see it. It just doesn't feel like something that they will do. If you know, then you know. I'm tired of saying it, but you get what I'm saying. So when we compare him to the potential other universal superhero characters, you have to take a look at where he's pretty much going to be used. These two characters are PvE type characters. Ghost Rider, however, when you look at his skill kit, he happens to have some abilities, specifically the enables attacking a target that has the ignore targeting effect down pat. Not only that, is that the Ghost Rider does supervillain type damage for immense amounts of damage, right? 150% for one attack type damage, which means that he has the ability to just straight up wreck some of the meta that's currently there with the likes of Jean Grey, Thanos. You could go down the list, Gore, you can go down the list and keep going further and further with some of the PvP type meta characters in the game. This is outstanding, right? Not to mention, when you look at some of the Ghost Rider's kit, you can start seeing why they didn't put accumulation on some of his skills, with his ability to basically leap huge mountains with the amount of fire damage that he's able to put out. Let me explain that. When you look at Ghost Rider's ability, it's similar to Thor in that he is going to top up on his fire damage that's being dealt due to the amount of fire damage resistance that he has. Now, I don't know why it says flame. It's probably a typo. It needs to be fire damage. We don't have flame damage and flame resistance inside the game. You can potentially see that right here. It's fire damage. So his fire damage is going to basically be popped off because of those numbers in the first place, right? And he gives himself an innate bonus to his fire resist as well. When you pair him with these two characters, specifically Ghost Panther has the ability to play him two ways. So if you were to look at Ghost Panther, he provides the passive where he's going to provide that nice boost to supervillain factions and do damage to them and increase the fire damage by upwards of 50% inside there. And then you can look at his leadership as well. And inside his leadership, he can increase the fire damage by another 30%. So that's potentially 80% fire damage just from those things alone, especially if you keep him at level 80 or, you know, I don't think you want to keep him at level 70, but you keep him at level 80, then you're basically using this because you're not going to get the benefit of the flame resistance, the fire resistance, the fire resistance from the character unless you T4 him. So you don't really have a reason to swap him out. But then when you go over to Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes's passive ability on the character, excuse me, where are we at? Over here has the ability for flame type allies or whatever to increase their fire resist by 60% and increase their fire damage by 30% as well. So that all being said, with the two characters over there, not to mention the innate pool that they're essentially going to get from the character, you basically have a powerhouse in terms of what you're going to be dealing with when you have the character. So you're either going with something like this, or you could be going with something like this and then increasing that fire resist. Don't forget that with inside the team up collection for the Midnight Suns as well, you're going to be applying additional fire resist that you could have inside your, your applied effects in your collections. So not to mention the supervillain faction damage, there's going to be some serious bonuses that you're going to basically get just from your build out inside the team up effects. And these are relatively easy to get to outside of the big bonuses that you're going to basically get for for your disability over here. So where you sit with the character overall is going to be determined by that. Now, there's one thing that's going to change the outset of what you're going to get with this character, and that's primarily your ability to play the character in two ways, either through PvP or PvE, because like I said, that's going to be one thing that your other characters inside the superhero branch, they don't have. Silver Surfer did have this ability. Whether or not he continues with that ability is going to be questionable. When we get around to this character is another questionable thing. We know that we probably have the likes of Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel and Spectrum coming behind, but that's where you're looking at for the character overall. Sentry and Silver Surfer have the ability to be two-way characters if you look at their kits previously. So we'll have to see where they fit into that window now. So I think that that's a big reason for you to essentially go with tier 4ing the character. Now, uniform options, I was a little disappointed with the uniform options, and they just keep screaming to the reason why we need to have a transmog system inside of here. Spider-Man No Way Home is an irrelevant uniform basically to be used, and it sucks to be seeing these uniforms basically still thrown at you for players, especially new players who are joining the game, to still purchase, because you're losing out on effects here without the ability for players to get after them. Quantum Mania Wasp, not a bad uniform overall for her, still worthwhile getting. Venom King in Black, a good uniform. Valkyrie Love and Thunder, good uniform. And then we go with Deadpool 30th anniversary the black version. Like, dump that. Like, why are we still there for those type of uniforms? So 3 out of 5. Now, hopefully the character is not going to be so expensive to level up, because nobody really wants that, right? The bottom line is any T4 is going to be expensive, but because he's a free-to-play option, it should lighten the load in terms of what you are getting for the character in terms of leveling up just a little bit, Now, resources, they still haven't given us a way to really earn resources. So even me in my current state, I'm still really depleted. I imagine that this character is going to cost me a lot. You can see I'm really running low on gold because of previous tier 3s and tier 4s that I did. So let's see what we get here, and if maybe we get lucky. I doubt it though. 9, 5, that's nice. 16, getting a little 10, that's not bad on that one. And then we hit up 24. That one's a terrible one to hit us with. Terrible. 7, 6. Now we need to see another low number. 10, not too bad. 11, not bad at all. 21. So we keep getting hit on that last one inside there. It's just a terrible option inside that last one. 7, 8, 5. That's nice. That's bad. 18 and 21. Those are terrible numbers overall. Terrible numbers there. 6, 11, 12. 19. And then 20. Hurts my soul. Really does. But there we go. So overall, the gold hit not too bad either. What am I missing on here? Here we go. So we're on an advancement. So 1500 basically, and then 800 carbonadium. Not too bad to get him leveled up. A universal type character. Can't complain overall for that. And then we get the 1000 life seeds as well to basically get him to tier 4. I gotta admit, like, in-depth review of just the characters, what they did with the bike, with his overall look, absolutely amazing. The one question that I have about him, like the thing that I dislike about the character kit in some regards, is he moves very, very slow. like really slow. Like he's a lumbering character. I mean, he is a brute of a character that they've basically done and changed him into, but he moves really, really slowly. So let's take a look at his skills. We want to set a striker inside of here, so he is justice in terms of activation. So now are we gonna go with Black Panther? Stun silence, increase all basic attack. Okay, could go with him. Who else do we have available? Not a whole lot of other Justice characters. Is Doctor Strange Justice? I guess he is. Mystic Black Hole. I like the all defense down on him. The options running low here. Sentry's Justice. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna go with Black Panther for now. Say okay to that one. And so we have that leveled out inside there. So overall, looking at the character kit, you can see what I've done here in terms of the Urus. I've applied some of the ESO Odin's blessings onto him, and some of the slots I haven't applied. I've given him the energy attack that he needs inside here, and then I left these slots blank as I go to level up the character in terms of getting the character a little bit more kitted out for what he goes to. Now, the thing about him being used inside PvP is going to be heavily dependent on you getting that artifact that he needs, because it basically gives him that Wolverine Carnage type hella type ability where their health doesn't drop below 1, and you get the basically not the revive but the life death immunity essentially. So before you throw him inside PvP, you're going to basically be needing that as well. Now, I would like to also get him a CTP that is a mighty CTP, so that way we get the options from there instead of having just a normal CTP of Rage. Although the normal CTP of Rage probably do just fine overall inside there, so not a whole lot to complain about overall. You can see what the max stats look like over here, but I'm probably going to end up going with a mighty CTP just because, like I said, it's something that I want inside of there for him. So you can see there we get the increased basic damage dealt to super villains and the increased basic damage dealt to superhero faction on there, or we get the activation rate. Like those are pretty good numbers overall that I want to get. I'm looking at the CTP of Insight. I thought I was looking at the CTP of Rage. Excuse me, Jesus Christ. So I want to get the CTP of Rage on him with a mighty CTP, but we'll do that for another time. Now, one of the things that I do need to do is to go out and get ahead and just max out Robbie Reyes, so that way we can actually use him inside of PvP. Excuse me, not in PvP, inside the PvP, because the PvE. Jeez, I can't fucking talk. Because that's going to be his best options overall. I don't know that I have any which calls for Robbie Reyes inside of here. But essentially, when you look at Ghost Rider, I'll go back to him, and you look at Ghost Rider and you go inside his skill, which are essentially, details, not skill. What you're looking at overall is like the amount of fire resist that he has in there. We're almost at 155 fire resist with the current build that we have on. That's really, really good in terms of like those numbers. You can really boost those numbers up higher and stuff like that. Like I said, through you know, what you have for in the game. So through his, you know, freaking team up collection, which is really nice. Now I will say that he still claps on characters like Gore, so you're not going to really have problems necessarily at lower level stages. And I always like to remind people, to be honest with you, just because it's not like me trying to shit on the player-based community, but I've played enough of this game as sort of a casual to, you know, non-casual player to be able to understand, like, if you're really looking at something, just jump inside Giant Boss Raid. Go inside Giant Boss Raid and play with players inside there and see that players, even with tier 4, right, tier 4 characters, how poorly they seem to utilize those characters. And if you play with those characters and you see how poorly they are playing with those, you won't be surprised of why I say that most people should probably stick to just the level 2 for the world boss, because sadly it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to play this game, but it does require somewhat of a knowledge, and most players don't even seem to understand the rotations of the characters that they're using, which it baffles me, because I don't understand why then are you tier 4ing a character. It's almost as if though the expectation is you get the character to T4 and all the work is done, and you should just end up with a character that's able to complete content, and that's just not the case. So that's the reason why I don't bother going into showing, you know, games at above, you know, in the upper echelons, because if you're in the upper echelons, more than likely you're not watching my videos, because you really don't need to watch my videos at that point. That's just the truth of the matter. Like, I'm, you know, like, just me being honest with myself. So so this does give you reason, however, to boost up a character like Robbie Reyes, so that way you can then use him with Ghost Rider. There's probably other characters you can use as well. Not to mention, Robbie's not a bad character at all to boost up to level 70 to potential transcendence as well. We have to go here, which is gonna hurt me anyways, but we'll do it. I've been trying to get away with like trying to run this like without doing the speed through, and it's not really benefit 33, Jesus Christ. It's not really benefited by trying to run them solo at all. Like I hoped. That's what I did. I had hoped that maybe it was going to be beneficial, but unfortunately, no. The numbers still seem to come out pretty much similar and the same. So you're not losing out if you just do them relay enhance or through it through the other way. You still seem to pan out the same one. Now, unfortunately, I am going to be plenty broke in terms of gold numbers after this. Like, probably be somewhere down around 55,000, 60,000 or something like that from just leveling up these two characters. I do want to look at T4ing, excuse me, Doctor Strange as a blast type character, but you know, we'll see. All right. Oh, his skill. Always forget about his skill. Oh, and then we can transcend his potential. Nice. Give me that gold. So weird that we get gold at the end for this one. Now, I'm not going to be using Robbie to do anything else. So like, if other than his damage. So if you don't really feel like maxing out these and you don't really have the gold, like you said, I see I was right around 55,000, then skip it. Like, you know, unless you're going to be using the character for that, what point of it is. Now, great Shadowland clear character, so you know, don't feel too bad about it if you do. I do believe, do I have a CTP? I still don't even have a CTP of Insight on him. Need to get a CTP of Insight on him. I really do. And what do I have on him for custom gear? Nothing there is either. All right, so let's jump into a little quick session of World Boss. We'll do Gore, just because. Ready him up, get rid of him, and let's look for Robbie. Where are you, Robbie? Where are you, Robbie? I think Robbie was a universal, right? There you go. Robbie set at universal. So right now, because you're making a decision between that fire damage and the fire resist, him in the lead as his fire resist, I think you're probably getting more damage than the other. So we'll have to see. Let's go inside here and let's set the ally team. Now, let's change up this. Do we have any fire? Just going, here we go. Fire resist. Where's the, probably went past the dodge rate. Oh, well, never mind. We'll just go all fire resist on this. Here we go. Now, like I said, big problem with Ghost Rider is how slow he moves. He's a lumbering Hulk. Understandable for his size, I guess, but it would have been nice to see him a little speed up, but I don't see him point in complaining about it now at this point, because just like Storm, they're probably not going to fix it at all, so it is what it is. Oh, shit. Look, so it switched me out on its own. I didn't switch out. Like, it was like he hit me and switched me out. All right, 3, 5, and then 4. So you do got a slight delay in your rotations, which is going to warrant you needing to make some changes to your rotations anyways, because it's, whoa, you got the 3 that has a delay, wait for the chain to go up, and then the 5 rotating. Really simple. And let's go back in here again, back to the pool. Womp, 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 womp. So we'll go with the full rotation now. My man is running for his life. So we're going 7, 6, 3, 5, and then 4. And we never got a chance to get to the 5 and the 4. Now, could I have done that quicker? Yeah, sure. Probably, without a doubt. So let's finish up by taking a look at his skill, because I think that one of the things that kind of irks me still to this day is essentially looking at a person, like a character skill, and seeing the work that the team put in to those skills, but that just, you know, it's sad because we don't really get to see it. So on his one skill, no iframes essentially here, not a whole lot happening, just, you know, some general hits on it. You do get some of the defense down that's happening on a skill and the fire damage, but not a whole lot. His 2 skill is really disappointing because it's the only time we see him get on this really cool looking bike that they've done. And there's a cool animation inside here, except for the fact that I feel like you're really using the 2 skill more often than not to just get away. Like if you're in damage, that's what you're using. Now it does have the super armor on it, so nice little effect there, because then it kind of justifies me being like, hey, I'm just really using this attack if I'm in danger to just kind of move. The other problem with it is it's a very short V-pad skill. Like if you notice, like the moment I start like moving it, it's gone like in an instant. You know what I mean? Like it is gone. There's no lasting time there for it at all. And the V-pad only lasts while the bike's available and then immediately disappears. So a little disappointed there. 3rd skill is pretty cool. You get the little X pattern on the floor that he slices down, and there's a lot of coolness on it. Not to mention, you know, you can easily cancel out of the skill as well, and he still gets the damage going on. So a nice, easy cancelable skill. His 4th skill is really cool because I think, you know, everybody's gonna love seeing that chainsaw, and unfortunately you can't cancel out of that animation. So that's the reason for why the skill is gonna have that 3, 5, 4 rotation, because you're finishing out on here. But remember that this is where a lot of the attacks to the supervillain damage is being done. Has the ignore targeting, and then you can see right there the boost to supervillain types increase basic damage by 150%. So for one attack, I think it used to be 250% for the attack. And then his 5th skill is the main thing that makes me want to cry, because it is an absolutely amazing looking skill when the VFX is turned on. Like he just basically summons a skull that he almost Castlevania writes up to, and then it just rains down fire on people. And it's such a beautiful skill that we're just gonna never see as the player base, because you're just rotating out of the skill. Now his tier 4 skill is where you're going to be paying the most attention to, because you notice here he increases all his resistance by 80, and then he increases his flame damage by 50% of his total flame resistance. It's not the flame damage that he has, so not the fire damage that you would get from what you call, it's just the flame resistance stat that you're looking at. So when you look at that inside here, it says up to 100, I think it says up to 100% inside there for 10 seconds, right? So going into looking at his kit, you're going to look at the flame resistance that he basically has, and that's where you're going to basically be taking half of that damage number up to 100%. So if you get it to 200%, essentially, like, and then you go 50% of that, gets you the 100%, gets you to the max of 100% on there, if you're able to get the flame resistance that high in the first place. And then we all know his tier 3 skill. So let's do this over here, where we can then run the practice combo and take a look at that. Very simple animations, like I said, 3, the 5, and then the 4. The 3 skill, you're essentially waiting, right, for the chain to go out his hand. So you see the chain, and then you go into 3, and then you go into 4. Really, really simple, and then you let the skills play out. There's a lot of damage being dealt on that, so it's really, really cool. Let's play it one more time so that way you can see it. It's going to be a 3, wait for the chain, 5, and then 4. That's your visual cue. It's a very simple visual cue on that one. His 2 skill for when his tier 3 is up, even simpler. The problem with his tier 3 is that me playing, I noticed that you're going to need a rage, because essentially you have to delay the 6 skill the same way you have to delay the T4 in order to start rotating through the skills, and it just kind of like triggers everything off time anyway. So you like 6, and then you can go 3, and then you go 5, and then you go 4. Really, really simple delay cancels inside of here, as long as you see visual cues. Now when I'm playing sometimes with the character inside of like World Boss, I notice that there's so much spread in terms of the animation that is really, really hard to see it. So I just made it a diddy bop in my head, because it's pretty much like 2 seconds in between those. So let's take a look at it really quickly one more time so you can see the 6. You basically gotta wait for the chains to come up, and then you go 3, 5, and then 4. I kind of failed that because I messed up on the 3rd skill. The chains didn't go out before I pressed into the 5. So 6, wait for the chains to come up, then you can go 3, then you can go 5, then you can go 4. There you go. And notice that when you get to the 3rd animation as well, it's going to be the same thing, right? 7 has to play out for at least the buff to basically activate, and then you can go 6, wait, 3, I messed it up, and then you go 5 and 4. I went too late in the into the 6, and that's what I mean by like some of the things happen. So 7, 6, fucked it up again. Haven't been messing it up period until now. 7, delay, then the 6, wait, and then the 3, then the 5, then the 4. There you go. And it's a lot of hits, a lot of damage being done. It's really, really nice, and it's really, really cool. He's very, very simple to play comparatively to a lot of characters in the game. So I was really digging on the character overall. So you have to let me know in the comments section, are you excited about this character? Like I said, I don't necessarily compare him to Black Bolt. Black Bolt's relevance is still there. I think he's probably going to have some sustaining relevance. I think the kit overall looks really cool, looks really amazing. He's going to see some major bonuses and buffs basically coming from the Midnight Suns package that you have already, with, you know, fire resist being in there, fire damage being inside of there, just from the applied effects that don't even include the paid for effects that you're going to basically get from here. And don't forget what I said as well, Sin's in the collection, and she's probably going to be something that you want to look at, because she's essentially going to give a buff to supervillains. And when you go to the store, probably the easiest option for you to get after, wait for Sin. Trust me, you're not missing out on anything with Sin. Wait for the 7-day check-in event, get the 10 tokens, and then probably the best option that you're probably going to have is to basically purchase the $19.99 pack over here and get these Midnight Suns tokens, especially if you're going to invest inside of, you know, Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider, and you can use those tokens in order to try to raise your levels for the team up collection. And basically you're getting the Sin uniform for $7, because you got the $19.99, so it's $20, 1,300 tokens that you're getting, and then whatever weight and value you put on these 90 tokens is basically there. Strip that cost away from this, and you basically end up with your cost for Sin. It's never really like some people will say like, oh, you're paying $20 for Sin. No, you're not paying $20 for Sin. You're basically paying for the difference in the cost of the crystals to the weighted value of the dollar. And basically in this game, really easy to figure out because it's the 100 crystals is essentially equal to $1. So I basically paid for the 1300 crystals with 13 of the dollars. I have 7 left over, and then I'm weighting the measure of what these tokens are to me and to the player base to get those stats for my Midnight Suns character. And then I would just subtract whatever the weight of that is from the cost of Sin's costume, which would basically be these 30 some odd tokens, and I'm getting those tokens for free because I can use these 1300 crystals on something else, right? So that's essentially what you're doing. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Really excited about Ghost Rider. Really excited to level up Doctor Strange as well. But we'll see. I'm really short on gold. Until next time, guys. Peace.